Welcome to the Motormouth YouTube channel. I'm Zach.
I'm Andrea.
And we do full-length car reviews each and every week, and we came up with a segment halfway through called Questions, Coffee, and Cars. It proved to be popular, so we've spun it off, and we're at number 63. How do you get a question in?
Follow along on Instagram at Motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time, I put a post out. It's only up for a short time. Once we gather our questions, the post is deleted.
Time now for questions, coffee, and cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
Looking for a three-row EV, Model Y versus EQB versus EV9. They're all $70,000 price range. Which should I pick?
Well, the Model Y and the EQB have small third rows, right? Those are really just for little kids and only occasionally. The EV9 is the closest to a traditional three-row SUV. It's basically the electric version of the Kia Telluride. So if you need that third row all the time, that's the easy answer.
Well, the EV9 looks terrific. Kia did such a great job, especially the interior. It feels more upscale than you would expect. I like it a lot. I think that's the one I would go for. If I need an EV with a third row, I'm going to get one that offers a good size, right? Legroom for third row passengers.
We're hearing stories, though. The exact same thing happened with Telluride. Telluride proved to be so popular that dealers were charging markups to get one.
Yeah.
And EV9 has proved to be so popular. We're hearing stories that EV sales are slowing, but if you've got the right product, people want it. And that one has long waiting lists and markups from dealers. So
the Model Y is probably one that you could get now. And I hear Mercedes-Benz has inventory as well. So you might need to consider that. Hi, guys. Cheers from Montreal. What do you know about the new Santa Fe trims for Canada? Will the hybrid be available on all trims?
Well, what's different about Santa Fe is instead of having like a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine, they've gone for a 2.5 liter turbo as the base gas engine. We've driven that. It loves the gas because you're using the turbo a lot, but the hybrid's going to be the one everybody wants. And what are the trims on that?
So we don't know the trims yet. Hyundai hasn't announced them. But after doing a little bit of digging recently at the Toronto Auto Show, they unveiled the NHL version for 2024. There's only going to be 500 models available or will be sold, produced.
Well, just before we go on, the NHL and Hyundai, they're partners.
Yeah.
They're the vehicle partner for the NHL. So it's a hockey-themed car only for Canada.
Only for Canada, 500 models will be produced, and then that's it. Now, that one in the press release says it's an exclusive hybrid powertrain. The hybrid powertrain on another press release says that that is the standard powertrain. However, on this press release, specifically for this NHL model, it also added that the top calligraphy trim will be the gas model.
See, I saw US spreadsheets showing they have more gas models. So obviously in Canada, they believe hybrid's the one they want to get. I just wonder, Andrew, if you get the NHL one and you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, do you get a license plate that says 1967?
No.
1967.
You could make your own license plate.
Yeah, it would be. We'd have a Toronto Maple Leafs license plate that says 1967. If you're from Toronto or you follow hockey, you think that's funny.
Well, in Vancouver, we've never won a Stanley Cup, so I don't know what we're talking about. It's hard to make fun of the Maple Leafs, isn't it? Well, we haven't won one either.
Could be our year.
Close.
Could be our year.
So anyway, that's what I have been reading for Canada specifically. So let's just wait and see. It's got to be out soon. Apparently, it's hitting dealerships in the spring, so we will have more details. I really hope that that top calligraphy trim, which we know has all the features, is not going to be just a gas model. I'm really hoping not.
If they're smart, they'll have both.
Yeah. Enjoy your show every week. Thank you. I even have the teenagers gather around the TV to see if my question will be asked. No pressure.
Gather around, kids. Your questions.
Hi, guys.
Is this a man or a woman?
I don't know.
All right, we'll gather around. Mom or Dad's asking a question.
Anyway, I'm trying to decide if I want to buy a new vehicle and deal with payments again or continue my trend of swapping cars every year. The Element I have now is doing well, but fuel economy is not great. I'm leaning towards Honda as I've owned lots of them and love them. We have a 2016 Subaru Forester that has been great and makes me think I want a WRX. My only preference is it has to have a manual transmission.
Well, the WRX is premium fuel required or requested, or you're supposed
They
to put
want you to put
you're supposed to put
premium in.
premium in there, and it's got horrible fuel economy. I mean,
Terrible.
it's just the numbers aren't good. It's a large turbo, so
Yeah.
that's why it doesn't get good fuel economy. I understand the need for a
Fun
fun
car.
car,
Yeah.
and if you like Honda and you want that, then get a Civic Si or a Civic hatchback
Yeah.
sport manual.
Get something like that. I would go for the hatchback. A manual transmission gets pretty good fuel economy. It's fun. I always have a lot of fun with the Civic, the hatchback in particular. Or if you like Volkswagen like we did, go for the GTI with a manual.
Yeah, but if you're in the Japanese silo and you're thinking Subaru or Honda, yeah, you're going to get the Civic hatch manual sport.
Which one is your pick? Volvo XC40 Recharge versus VW ID.4?
Well, I think the VW ID.4 is the value leader right now. Equinox, the General Motors EV that's going to be coming out. We found out it's going to be coming out sooner than we think. Now, they were saying summer, this coming summer, because we heard things are getting pushed back. They said, no, it's going to be this summer. The pricing on that, I'm just throwing that out there as an alternative. In Canadian dollars, the cheapest one is like 48 grand, and the most expensive one is 52. So it's only like a $4,000 gulf from the base model to the top trim. That undercuts ID.4. But if you have enough money for a Volvo,
I think that the Volvo interior is much nicer. It's more refined. It feels more upscale. I like them both. You're going to pay more for the Volvo. The ID.4 has more range. The Volvo has more horsepower. So, you know, you've got to weigh out your options there. I think for an EV, people always want to go with more range. I agree with Zach. I think the ID.4 is a good option. I just find that the interior has a lot of plastic, which I'm not crazy about. However, it's probably going to get the updated technology that we saw in the Volkswagen ID.7 sedan with that larger screen. You may prefer that. I think right now, the way it stands, if I had the budget, I'd probably go for the XC40 Recharge.
see, I don't know. The one thing about the ID.4 is that it is like the XC40 isn't big, right? It's well designed, but the new EVs have longer wheelbases, big back seats. The great thing about the ID.4 is it's just like it could be. You could have called it the Tiguan. Like it's basically an electric Tiguan. I don't know. I either or.
Personal preference. I think if you drive them both, you'll know for sure which one you want right away. Hi, love watching you guys. Question is, planning to buy a travel trailer. Confused between half-ton truck or full-size SUV. Don't have a big family, but extra seats, always welcome. I'm looking for reliability, safety while towing. I was comparing the Tundra, TRD Pro, or Yukon Denali. I heard Chevys are not reliable. What do you guys think?
Oh boy, this
just
brings
had
us
that.
back to a conversation. We were in Toronto for the auto show and we had dinner with our family. My brother's contemplating this very thing. He wants to tow an Airstream that's 6,000 pounds.
I just want to add, he is a Toyota fan.
Yeah,
he has
yeah.
only owned Toyotas.
Yeah, so he's owned other cars, but in the last 25 years, it's only been Toyotas.
Toyotas.
But so I said, well, instead of like he's talking about getting a Lexus GX or getting the new Land Cruiser or getting a used Land Cruiser, and I said, what about a General Motors Duramax 3-liter diesel is the one I would, if I was towing a trailer, I would go the GM route. Chevrolet or GMC, they have available the inline 6-cylinder Duramax diesel, returns amazing fuel economy, great torque, a perfect match for towing. I think towing capacity is around 8,000 pounds. So that
Very
would solve all your problems. And Chevrolet's quality is very high over the last several years.
So in regards to reliability, JD Power gives the Denali a score of 83 out of 100 for reliability and the Tundra 80 out of 100. Now, Consumer Reports is a different story. Although they give them the same reliability score, it's much lower, 50 out of 100. So I do notice
For
that
which vehicle?
both. They're both 50 out of 100.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So here's the thing about Consumer Reports. I always find that their scores are a little bit lower,
A
but
lot
that's
lower.
for all vehicles. So if you get a score from Consumer Reports of 80 out of 100, you're like, whoa, this thing is super reliable. So JD Power kind of gives them both the same score, and Consumer Reports gives them both the same score.
Okay, so Tundra has had a few hiccups initially. There are reports some people don't like certain elements about it. And I would, for me, here's the one thing, Andrea. Who does trucks the best? The domestics do trucks the best. Best-selling truck is the F-Series from Ford. The General Motors, Ram, they sell incredibly well because they have so many configurations of trucks, engines, rear differentials, all-wheel drive systems, air suspensions. You can configure it exactly the way you want. But the star of the show is that Duramax inline six-cylinder diesel. For towing, we're sitting in a diesel, it would easily be my choice.
So it's really your choice. I have a feeling that my brother-in-law is going to go with another Toyota because just the way he is.
He won't even consider it, but
No.
But the thing is, it's not the best choice. He's choosing
Especially
it.
for towing.
He's choosing it over brand, and he says, "Oh, but resale value." It's like, trust me, if you have a used diesel Duramax, it's worth money in the used market.
Thank you for your content. Thinking about getting a luxury SUV, still not convinced the price tag is worth it when you can get other cars fully loaded with extra options. I know it depends on the brand, but what's the true perk of luxury? I think this is a really good question. Yeah, the badge, but also it's the driving experience. I think that it's hard to replicate, for example, the Germans, that luxury brand. Lexus, on the other hand, offers its own kind of luxury, but more of a refined luxury, especially the driving experience. I also find like some of the non-luxury brands, when you get in the vehicle and you close the door, it just doesn't have that solid thump to it that you get with some of the luxury brands.
It all comes down to heritage. The thing about luxury is defined over decades, if not centuries. Mercedes-Benz is the oldest car brand in the world. They've been making premium and luxury cars for well over 100 years now. And so the heritage that goes into that three-pointed star counts for something.
It does.
Right? You can have a newbie on the block like Genesis that will have interiors that rival a Mercedes and driving characteristics that are similar, but you just don't have the heritage. The analogy I always use is you can have a beautifully made handbag, but if it says Louis Vuitton on it, that means that it's got all of that heritage and history. The other bag might be just as nice, but it doesn't say Louis Vuitton on it. And it's like, that's the way people are wired. They're wired to things that they aspire to own.
And also for people who don't know a lot about cars, let's say you're driving a Mercedes-Benz, a Porsche, a BMW, and they look over and they go, whoa, like that person's got a few bucks. Sometimes that just makes people feel better to have that versus another vehicle like a Genesis, possibly an Acura, and even a Lexus. Now, when you get into the non-luxury category and you can make the stretch to an Acura, Genesis, or a Lexus, that makes people feel better too.
Yeah. It's all about perception and having that aspirational purchase.
Sure.
And it's what people aspire to, and they sell that. They market the hell out of that.
Yeah.
And that's why, life is better with a Mercedes, or whatever the ad is, right? You just like, you've arrived. It's like you've arrived.
And some people are just willing to pay more for that.
And other people just like, I'm not buying into the hype.
I don't care.
I'm not buying into the hype.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a fully loaded mainline car. And you know what? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
That's good money, actually.
Absolutely. Hello to you both. I love your content. It's one of the best automotive channels
Wait
on
a second.
YouTube.
One of the best?
I love that.
What
I love
about
that.
the best?
Hey, I'll be one of the best. I'm okay with that. What do you make of the recent depreciation of electric vehicles? I live in a big Canadian city, and I'm in the market for a full EV. Have we hit the bottom yet for used EVs? Should I wait to buy still?
This is a conundrum. One of the problems is that Elon Musk, with the stroke of a pen or a keystroke, decided to depreciate everybody's electric car by 20%.
Yeah.
It was in the end of 22 or the beginning of 2020. There's either December or January. He just said, I'm dropping the prices on all my Tesla models by up to 20%. So everybody that had a Tesla, it was now worth 20% less.
Yeah.
And then everybody else has had to price match. Just this week in the Canadian market, Ford has dropped the price up to $13,000 on a Mach-E.
Crazy.
Well, if they're dropping the price, this was for the performance one, or the performance Mach-E.
GT.
They dropped the price by $13,000. So you're Sally, Steve, Larry, Jennifer, and you bought one of these. It's now worth $13,000 less.
I'd be
That's a
pissed.
kick in the ass.
So IC Cars did a study on depreciation. They did a 5-year depreciation study. And what they found is that electric vehicles depreciate the fastest. In fact, this study shows that they depreciated 49.1%. Now, sports cars...
Over what time period?
It's a this is how they did it. I'll read exactly what they said. IC Cars analyzed over 1.1 million vehicles sold from November 2022 to October 2023 to determine the 5-year depreciation rates. So what they found is that sports cars, trucks, and hybrids had the best depreciation.
Best resale, yeah.
Yeah, so they depreciated the least. However, they're saying that when COVID hit and there was a lack of inventory, that vehicles held their resale value more so than they did in 2019. The average vehicle only depreciates 38.8% over 5 years, yet an EV 49.1%.
But we're starting to see the market normalize, right? So
Yeah.
those lofty used car prices during COVID where you couldn't get a car and dealers were charging more for used cars than they were for new cars
Yes.
because you couldn't get a new car either. So
No.
those used car prices are starting to float down. And some of them quite dramatic. It's much different in the United States and Canada. The U.S. market is really getting hit with price depreciation. So yeah, it's an issue, and vehicles are worth less after a certain number of times. And now we're getting stories of insurance premiums are going higher for EVs. So this road to pure electrification, and it is happening, it's going to happen. And we're not anti-EV. We're just realistic and reporting the news. There are speed bumps along the way.
Yeah, and I think that the thing about electric vehicle technology is that we want more all the time. So manufacturers are trying to provide better range, more power. I mean, we're going to have a solid state battery come that's going to offer maybe over 1,000 kilometers of range. And I think the question is just like our cell phones, what happens to these older models? Here's a good example. I just got a new cell phone. My old one was 2 years old. Not trying to compare electric vehicles just to a cell phone.
It is a good analogy though.
But mine wasn't my old phone wasn't charging as fast anymore. I could tell that I had to plug it in more often. All of a sudden I get this new phone and we're on a road trip at the auto show and it'll go all day before I have to charge it again. So I think the changing technology is happening quickly. Manufacturers are improving on EV technology, and that could be a problem for older models when it comes to resale value. However, if you're leasing...
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, go for a lease.
Yeah.
With a lease, you sign that document, you know the exact value of the vehicle at the end of the 3 or 4 year term.
Yeah.
And if it's less, that's on them, not on you.
No, and if you do decide to buy a used EV because the range and the power meets your daily needs as a used vehicle, I don't think, there's nothing wrong with that. Just know that there may be another vehicle from the same brand that has more EV range, yeah, and it does things better, but that doesn't mean that a used EV... I think the biggest problem with used EVs is people start worrying about battery replacement costs and battery degradation because this is all new. I mean, we haven't hit the 10-year mark on all of these vehicles, so lots to learn. You recently mentioned that you had kind of forgotten about the Infiniti QX80 in your recent year-end reviews. Just curious if you've heard anything about the remodeled QX80 that's supposed to be announced this year. I know Infiniti is not the sexiest brand on the road, but I've always loved them for their comfort level as I take a lot of road trips.
Well, we've seen pictures of it, and boy, does it ever look good. And man, they went right to the school of Range Rover.
Yeah.
Doesn't it look like the full-size Range Rover?
I think it looks fantastic. How will it sell? I don't know. Infiniti says that they are targeting new buyers with this. They're looking for the people who buy this vehicle. They believe that 75% of them will be new to the brand. They're going right up the side of Cadillac and Lincoln.
It's easy to get new buyers when you have no buyers. Like,
poor Infiniti.
well,
Look, I hope this is a
I have no
success for
sympathy
them.
for Nissan and the way they ran that brand. Is Infiniti was left to rot on the vine
It was,
for
yeah.
way too long. The Q50 sedan is ancient. CVTs,
Yeah.
old clunky infotainment
Not good.
systems. But the only good thing is they've proven to be really quite reliable because they don't change them. But boy, this is going to be the year of Infiniti. They got a lot of stuff coming out, and that full size rig looks great. Is it going to be, too expensive? I don't know.
Probably. They're saying that the average income is going to be over $250,000. So my bet is it's going to be expensive, but it better not price itself out of the markets next to Cadillac and Lincoln.
Well, no,
Otherwise,
but-
people aren't going to buy them.
Or back to the question earlier about real luxury brands. Like when you're up against pure luxury and you're a brand that has done nothing, they've
Yep.
sat on your hands for 15 years. You've introduced a pathetic number of new vehicles. You've let your vehicles rot on the vine. You've let the image of the brand diminish to the point where nobody even thinks about Infiniti anymore. And now you're going to bring out a vehicle that's going to be super spendy and appealing to people that have a high net worth. They want the badge. Infiniti doesn't give them that.
Now, the rumor is they are going to unveil it at the New York Auto Show. We don't know this for sure, but that is our feeling. Other rumors are that there is going to be maybe a Nissan Murano unveiled at the New York Auto Show. We'll see about that.
The good news is we've been invited by Nissan and Infiniti to go to the New York
Maybe
show.
not anymore.
Well, maybe not
They
anymore.
might
Yeah,
take back
we haven't got
the
our
invite.
we haven't got our tickets yet,
Just
so maybe
kidding.
they
They're
might
great.
not send it.
Infiniti
I think they
is
know.
actually great. They're a nice brand to work with. I just wish that they would do more. I think the QX60 is a great model. I think they did a good job with that. But nobody thinks of Infiniti, and us as well. Like, we've just kind of forgotten about the brand.
We do reviews. We look at all these cars, and we totally forgot about that car.
I know.
I mean, it's become a forgettable brand. They got a lot of work to do, which means they have to spend billions of dollars to engineer the cars, and now they've got to spend millions of dollars marketing the cars.
They sure
to let
do, and
people
then
know.
they better be good.
They better be good.
Anyway, that's it for us. Follow along on Instagram at motormouth_Andrea to get a question in. Every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time, I put a post out. The post is deleted once we gather our questions, so get them in quickly.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching.
Jinx.